Hope is birthed out of two Christian projects. One of which is Bartlem House, which is a youth centre that I set up about 10 years ago with a guy called Keith Parr. And originally it worked with a lot of the sort of gothy young people, but it's much more mixed now. And the other project that we're involved with is Coffee Tots, which is a parenting project, again in the city centre, which works with a lot of single parents. You don't have to be a single parent, but there's a lot of them there. Both projects work with people from a lot of poorer backgrounds, and the church has really grown out of that. So we're a church aimed at people with often quite young reading ages. So we were set up just over 3 years ago, and I was originally involved with both of the projects. The youth centre, say about 9 or 10 years ago when I was in a previous job. And I saw a large group of young people gathering in the city centre and gave them somewhere to meet, and we tried to have different ways of engaging them with God talk, and we tried the Soul Survivor thing, and I felt that we were not really hitting it. And we also tried Youth Alpha, and I felt that we were answering questions that they weren't ready to ask at that point. And so we started to engage them in sort of times of compline at the end of our sessions, and grew a conversation. We started the cafe 4 years ago, recognising that also alongside young people, parents of young children were also feeling quite unwanted in the city centre. There was nowhere really to meet, nowhere where you could spend some quality time, because the cafes need your tables. They need those tables to work for you, so they need you in and out quick. So we developed Coffee Tots, which is in the City Arcade, and again, Christian conversation, but there wasn't really heading anywhere. So Urban Hope was birthed with the idea of a development of a church from the cafe and youth centre. We've got around 60 to 70 people as part of Urban Hope. We have 3 main gatherings, one in the youth centre where we break bread together once a week, one in the cafe on a Thursday, and one on a Sunday where all the groups meet together. The thing that unifies all that we do is food. Food is a big bit of Urban Hope. I think probably because it's an equaliser, because where you come from, whether you are a church person or whether you're a single parent or whether you're a teenager, we all need to eat, and we can share in preparing those meals together. So around those meal tables we engage in God talk. I usually do a little bit of a speech, but much of it is discussion. People are allowed to have their own opinions. And so together we're gradually learning about what does it look like to be a Christian community. And he's gradually shaping us a little bit. What we're doing is can feel quite fragile, and one of the things that has been really fragile has been the funding. So we were set up with funding for initially 3 years during my curacy, and the youth centre and the cafe are funded separately, but my own post was always going to fall off the end of a cliff. And so what I've been encouraged to do by my line manager, our archdeacon, has been to tell the story. So we've been talking around, with permission, telling the stories about some of those families whose lives have been quite chaotic, who've met Jesus with their permission, and I've gone anywhere that has been welcoming. So we've been and spoken to diocesan synods, we've spoken to deaneries, we've spoken to individual churches, Mothers Union, basically anyone that would have me. But fantastically, the diocese has decided, probably due to the storytelling, that it's going to continue our funding. So we're being put on something called common tenure. So and that's attached to a bishop's mission order. And so for initially 5 years, my post is going to be funded, and then both of them are renewable together. And as I said, that has really come about because we've put the work into telling people about what we're doing and being really honest about the ups and downs too. So I'm thrilled that we've got some stability, certainly within our own funding as a family. I wouldn't have a job now if it wasn't for Maurice Rodham, who's our archdeacon, who's given us so much backing, and our bishop, Bishop Christopher, who visits Coffee Tots, visits Barsley House, is grilled by our young people and has come and joined our church at times. But I think telling stories, sharing what's been happening, and being really honest is the key to our long-term survival. I wouldn't want another job. I love what I'm doing, and on the good day it's the best job in the world. And I'm really grateful that the Church of England and Fresh Expressions and Pioneer Ministry, that actually we're asking questions about church. And here in Coventry and maybe elsewhere in the country too, that we're engaging with people that would otherwise never dream of walking into a church.